I always love these from Kirk Herbstreit, who does a really good job at ESPN. He's given us his top six teams coming into week 5. And I mean, honestly, I think he's got it right here. At 6, he's got USC, who barely survived, y'all. Let me just tell you, they survived that game at Oregon State. I watched that game. USC can score, but that I thought that game was about survival. Speaking of which, Clemson's survival against Wake Forest was not. I mean, was about as impressive as the SC survival. I think the difference is there are, things are getting better offensively for Clemson, but if you that's been the offense has been bad this season. Now all of a sudden the defense, I mean, was that just about Wake Forest's kind of weird way of playing? I mean, I think if you're the top 5 or top 3 teams, you would not be shaking your boots to have Clemson in the top 4 at the playoff, but we'll see if they get there. Everybody seems to be ready to say, hey, if they have a loss, they're out. That's not always the case with Clemson. In fact, they made the playoffs multiple times, if not mistaken, with a loss. I mean, a loss doesn't kill you. At 4, Kirk Herbstreit's got Michigan. Um, I don't really know who else you can have. I mean, Ohio. I mean, you could. I would not put Clemson in my top 4. I know I would not. USC. I mean, so then it comes down to, you're going to put Tennessee, you're going to put Ohio State, excuse me, Oklahoma State, you're going to put, so some teams that just don't know enough about. I think Michigan is one of them as well. Playing Iowa or whoever they play this week, it just, there are, we know more about, Georgia. We know more, I think, about Ohio State. I think we know more about Alabama, even though their one game was Texas. Georgia's played 2 what I would call legitimate games, which are a Rhode Island South Carolina game, and then obviously the opener with top whatever they are, top 15 Oregon. Um, I think with Michigan, we just don't know where they're at, and it could take a little bit of time to uh, to see where they're going to be. I don't know. I don't hate Michigan, but we're not quite there yet. Now Alabama, I think to me has improved. If you watch Alabama like Saturday night, they played well against Vanderbilt. I think folks are still kind of griping about their run game. I mean, all right, but the offensive line may be the reason why the run game is not superb. They have a very good running back in Gibbs, but I think Alabama is improving. I would have them behind Ohio State just the same way Kirk Herbstreit's got them. I think that's the right call. I think Ohio State, you know, it's a little murky what was going on at Notre Dame, but they're scoring a lot of points. And again, our rule on dog post, we only have a few of them. We have no Hootie and the Blowpit Fish, no mustaches, no going to the bathroom in the hotel room, and oh, now I've forgotten the only other rule. No, if you can, it's not who you play, it's how you play. And I think that for Ohio State, they are playing well offensively for sure. Some of the teams, look, Georgia, Ohio State, um, I was about to say Miami, Georgia, Ohio State, and Alabama. I got Hurricane on my brain. It's gonna be tough for anyone to talk about those 3 without mentioning the other 2. Like, if you want to talk about Georgia, naturally, I think people start talking about Alabama, but at some stage, Ohio State enters in the mix too. With Ohio State and who they've played and what they've got on their schedule, there's just not a lot of teams that Ohio State's going to be challenged by. And it's how they play. It's what they look like when they play. And I'm gonna tell you, when I watched them putting 52 up on Wisconsin. Now I know Wisconsin's not great, but 52 points is a lot of points in a football game. Anytime you get to 40, you're scoring a lot of points. That feels like a lot of points, but like you look at their schedule here, they probably honestly are not going to get challenged in a real way unless they kind of goof up until they play Penn State on the road. Now, I have no faith in James Franklin. Zero. He's not a good coach. And I think the results speak for themselves on that front. So James Franklin, stands. Oh, cool, man. Good for you. But no, not good. I think the recent past has proven that. But they have players at Penn State. And, if Ohio State is going to trip up, they certainly could trip up at Penn State. That would make things complicated for Ohio State. They'd probably still win their division, but it would be do or die against Michigan, and it would be do or die in the Big Ten championship game. It, you know, that's just what it is. I don't want to sit here and oversettle and talk about Ohio State the whole time, but like Rutgers, no, Michigan State's not good, and then Iowa can't score. So those three games just I don't buy it. Make sure you're picking up Dawgstruction today. Link is down below. If you want me to sign this and personalize this, if you want Matt and Ryan, let me know. But let me know immediately after you purchase this. A great way to celebrate Georgia's national championship season in 2021. And there's Bryce Young. We talk about every single game and have some graphics for you. Make sure you're picking this up today. The link is right down below. I know there's a lot of new people watching these. So I think then at number one, leaving Sanford on Saturday, I understand why there was a lot of hand wringing. Part of that is that's what Georgia folks do. Doesn't matter how good they are, they're only happy, after really good wins, right? But and the Kent State game was an adequate win. But if you're going to talk about Ohio State the way that you do, you got to say the same thing about Georgia's schedule. I mean, Missouri, Georgia should crush them. Auburn, I don't see it. Vanderbilt, no. The Gators, look, Florida's not looked good lately. They just haven't. Okay, their best game is probably, well, it was a win against Utah, I guess, but I think maybe their best game is their loss to Tennessee. I mean, they hung in there some, so that counts. I mean, but they're just I can't remember who I was talking to, but it was a college football person, and we were talking about Georgia and the Gators and Clemson and Alabama and Ohio State and kind of all the teams that we talk about. And the discussion of the Gators came up, and the problem for Florida is you got to play 60 full minutes of football to beat Georgia. I mean, Alabama is a great example of this, y'all. Think about it. 2017, they needed more than 60 minutes to beat Georgia. 2018, last play of the game, that's 60 minutes. 2020, no, and then they had 60 in that one, but they needed the fourth quarter. 21 in Atlanta, fourth quarter game. 22, they lost. I mean, well, you get my point. Game one and then game two. So much like Alabama, if you're going to beat the Dogs, you're not just going to, beat them at the half. I do not think Florida has the capability to stick in there for an extended period of time to beat a Georgia team that has very few holes. This is probably the best team in the country. And I don't think Florida can do it. Now, Tennessee a week later, I mean, okay, they got to go to Athens. I mean, the problem with the Vols, okay, is that they're allowing a lot of points. That's what I would say. And the way that they kind of survived Pittsburgh, Georgia would probably crush Pittsburgh. Now that was a road game. That was a road game, but Tennessee looks good. They have played well, generally speaking. I don't know why it's so hard to get the 21 Tennessee schedule up. Excuse me, the 22 schedule up. Maybe I should put 22 rather than 21 in there. Maybe user error is the issue. I watched Tennessee against the Gators, watched them against Ball State. I mean, I was impressed both times. I did not get a huge chance to watch them against Pittsburgh, but to allow 27 to Pittsburgh, to allow 33 against Florida. I mean, Florida is not good. They are not good offensively, I believe. I'm not totally sure, but I think the Gators have only scored over 30 once this season. Yeah, which is, excuse me, twice. So South Florida and Tennessee, those are the only games. Otherwise, they're under the 30 mark. So I just It's not great. And so there's not a lot in Georgia's way. But again, as we say, um, how are you playing? What do you look like when you play? That's the question. But I think Herbstreit's got it right. I think that, Georgia at the one. I would put Ohio State as your two. Alabama's playing better, but I would have them as my three. I think you have to put Michigan as your four just because I don't trust Clemson. I don't trust SC either. And then Oklahoma State really hadn't played anybody. And then, but we'll know more. This top 10, I mean, it could be Ole Miss, it could be it could be the Rebels, it could be the Cats, it could be the Vols. It's definitely not Oklahoma. That's a joke. They're doing what they always do, which is everybody gives them a really high ranking, and then they, you know, evacuate themselves the bed at some point in the season, which is just bizarre losses. So um, I don't know. For every Georgia South Carolina 2019, of which there's been one, Oklahoma seems to do that consistently, whether it's with Kansas State or just like some rando team. They really goofed around with Tulane last year. Now they won the game, but still. So I don't want to hear about, just like, give me a break on Texas, give me a break on Oklahoma. I just don't want to hear about it. They're not in the level of some of these teams. But it's do or die time now for Kentucky. We've hit the stretch. You've got the Rebels, you've got the Dogs coming up, you've got the Vols. Kentucky's, if you want to get the playoff, you want to get the Sugar Bowl, now is that time. But I think Herbstreit's correct in this. Now, if Georgia doesn't play well and Ohio State does, then you flop those two. I don't know if I'd move Georgia to the three unless they, no, after this week, it'd be tough to see that happen. But anyway, I think Kirk's basically right.